Ready to go.
All right, so I'm calling to order the meeting of the Hubbardston Planning Board. Planning Board meetings are broadcast live and digitally recorded. This meeting is being held both in person and virtually through Zoom pursuant to Governor Baker. We're gonna have to
He still
update
is
that.
for tomorrow.
The order is still outstanding. Extending the COVID-19 rules, allowing public meetings to be conducted remotely so that board and committee members, as well as members of the public, can participate remotely.
It still has been extended, right?
Yeah, well, it was
believe so.
extended to March,
I think it
but
runs through March.
I imagine the
okay.
new administration will issue some kind of statement
Oh, yeah.
about it, so.
I think it's gonna be something that's gonna be left standing, don't you?
Yeah,
So
there's
you can
some
do
things
that.
where it's awesome and there's some things where it's not.
Right.
So I think they're gonna have to build a better framework around it, but
Yep.
overall, I think it's a good thing. So first on the agenda is public comments, and are there any comments from anyone in the public? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to minutes approval. And the minutes for this, minutes acceptance, the minutes for this meeting were placed into the drive.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second that.
Excellent, here in a first and a second, how about discussion or corrections?
I just one discussion point on it. So, and especially since she's here, the biomix product, this says, she states that, you know, the PFAS contamination, was that specific to biomix? I mean,
It was that specific biomix from the Irving,
Irving plant, okay, I just don't wanna get in a point where I knew it was a problem, but,
yeah. And that
Okay.
may have been resolved by now, but they were making paper with like waterproofing on it.
Oh, okay.
You know, and that whatever, they use the material to make it slippery, like Teflon, you know, kind of thing. So-
I know what, I would just wanted to make sure that, I knew it was a problem in general in industry, but I didn't know.
And they also had the same trouble with their biomix up in Maine, so
I just didn't want to
paper
like,
looks up there. Yeah,
put their name in as the cause if it wasn't for certain,
right,
cause it'll be a public record, okay,
yeah,
that's my only comment.
okay.
All right, any other corrections or comments? So, hearing that there isn't any further discussion, let's have a vote.
Lived I,
Holman's eye.
Monroe, aye. Motion carries. So onward to new business. We don't really have any.
Well, that's
Well,
good.
we do, but we'll talk about it a little bit further down on some of these other categories. It's gonna be a little bit more hurry up and wait. Moving forward into old business, we have Crane Clay Pit Restoration Decision, signatures and final accounting. So, Mark, can you tell us where we're at with that?
So we put together a draft that was circulated to Christopher and Alice on, just to confirm the motion that was made at the last meeting. That's been memorialized in a document. I'll go ahead and read it. So, following a public hearing at a meeting of the Hubbardston Planning Board held on December 7th, 2022, the board voted in favor of the following motion concerning property owned by Alan Crane, located at 26 Worcester Road in Hubbardston, Massachusetts. Motion is to rescind the reclamation permit issued by the Planning Board on August 21st, 2019, recorded in the Worcester District Registry of Deeds in Book 65501, page 199, as extended on July 15th, 2021, for the former clay pit on property located at 26 Worcester Road in Hubbardston, Massachusetts, due to the unavailability of manufactured topsoil, the substantial restoration that has occurred naturally, the presence of plant and animal species on the site, substantial compliance with Section 9 of the Hubbardston Earth Removal General Bylaw governing restorations, and the compelling evidence presented at the hearing by a credentialed ecologist. And to refund the balance of the bond to the owner of the property after payment of all planning board, consultant, legal, and recording fees related to this rescission. So, that is the document that we're approving tonight.
Excellent, so just procedurally, we already voted on this and approved this. This is just the acceptance of the actual document. We don't need a vote to accept the document, do we, on this?
We already made the motion, I think.
Gotta
We
sign
already
it.
made the motion.
Sign it. But
So,
does,
yeah.
we are gonna record it though, right?
Yep.
Good, okay,
Yep,
So we just gotta sign it, right?
but somebody isn't here. No, it was
It's
approved
not a
by
special
three. It was
permit, you've
Francois
got
that
three.
wasn't here, and he didn't vote, he abstained, so
Yeah.
we're good.
But I have a pen if you don't want me to use yours. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
So the other part of this is determining the actual amounts that have to go back to the applicant. There is the original Cataisto bond for originally $10,000 plus whatever interest is accrued. The last balance I saw on it was $10,180, but it'll be whatever, when the treasurer cuts the check, it'll be whatever the current amount is based on interest to that day. So that would go back, and then the spreadsheet is circulating there with the amounts that we had collected in fees from Mary Ann originally, and the amounts that were actually expended. And there's a overage of about $500 there.
So that's basically the difference between, Bill's estimate and his actual,
Yeah, primarily.
that's good to me. Oh, this is the accounting, I didn't see the second page.
Did that include the recording fee?
It's in there.
Okay.
This was paid a long time ago. Yeah, okay.
So.
You need a motion to-
Yeah, I mean, I drafted a kind of a motion there, but whatever anybody would like to take a shot at.
Hey, you're better at that than I am.
I make a motion to release the performance bond for the Cataisto Clay Pit in the amount of $10,180.23 plus interest to date, and to refund excess payment from the planning board revolving account 2711000570, followed by 4 zeros, in the amount of $497.89.
I'll second the motion.
Hearing a first and a second, any discussion?
Holman's eye.
Lived all I.
Monroe, aye.
Done deal.
So that's this too.
All right. So anything else you need on that one?
Excuse me?
That's it for that one?
Yep. Unless there's something else you wanna talk about?
Nope.
Is that something I could take a picture of, that accounting form?
Yeah, we could also.
You can run a copy.
Take it away.
You wanna
Take it
take
away?
a copy?
It's all right, I can just take it.
You can have
Okay.
it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, that should do it. Thank you all so much. I appreciate
Thanks
all
for
of your
coming in.
help. You're welcome.
And just shoot me a confirmation by email of which checks you want going where.
Will do. I will take care of that. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night now.
Good night.
Night.
So next on old business is paper crane provision special permit. The issue that came up here is that we had granted this special permit. It was then filed with the town clerk's office, and the time where it was filed with the town clerk's office, our town clerk changed. So it did not get certified for the 20-day appeal period.
Oh.
So we need to correct that and generate a document showing that it happened. So where did that?
I think I had been hoping to talk to Nathan before the meeting, but that didn't happen. But I'm pretty sure we're both agreed on this.
Okay.
So I think we're going to pass this over. I thought we might have to re-sign the original permit, but I don't think we're going to take that route. I think we're just going to slap an addendum page on the back saying that the current town clerk certifies that there was no appeal.
Good.
Okay.
Do we need a motion or anything for that, or?
Nope.
No, it's just administrative, so
Okay.
I think we're good on that. All right, so moving down is other administrative matters. It's going very smoothly. Invoice approvals for payment. So we have some invoices that were placed in the drive.
There weren't bills here, there are others, did I miss some?
There are two invoices. One is Bill's invoice from Places for the crane technical review. That's $951.85. And the other is advertising costs for the Aho Scenic Road application and for the crane public hearing.
It shows public hearing 11/17, notice of public hearing 241, notice of public hearing 105.
Yeah, the 241 was the Williamsville Road Scenic Road application,
Okay.
advertising, and DPW is paying that one.
Oh, okay.
So it's just the 99.94 and the 105.20.
Very good. Well, let's take them in that order. So we have the advertising one for local IQ. Shows 3 items. One of them is being paid by the DPW. Do you know which one was which there, so we can specifically
The
reference?
first, the 99, 99.94 is the Aho Scenic Road application.
And then the other one is?
105.20 is the crane clay pit.
Okay, and we've collected funds for both of those?
And we did collect funds for both of those.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion for the 99.94 and 105.20?
I'll make that motion.
So it is for, if I understand you correctly, you're making a motion for us to pay the combined sum of $205.14 to local IQ for advertising fees?
Oh, that's my motion.
Excellent. Here in a first, do we have a second?
Second,
Here in a first and a second, any discussion? Let's have a vote.
Lived a lie.
Holman's eye?
Monroe, aye. So the next one is the invoice for Places Associates. It is invoice 5640.01. And the amount of the invoice is $951, and this is for work that was done on the Crane property.
I'll make a motion to approve that figure, $951.85 to Places Associates for work done on the Crane Pit Restoration Project.
And I'll second that motion.
Here in a first and a second, any discussion?
Lived a lie.
Holman's eye?
Monroe, aye. All right, so moving down the list.
Running around for signatures.
Oh, yeah.
Neighbors.
John, hi.
Apologize, I was on a call.
And you need signatures from everybody? And was I supposed to sign the property head
No, you can be on there.
there? Okay.
Did
Hello.
he
Were you
sign
busy?
the clay pit?
Car
Did he
accident.
vote for it? Did he need
Need a
his
pen?
signature too?
Yeah, if we're signing something, sure.
Do you remember if John voted on that? On the clay pit?
It was the last meeting, yeah, you were here.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
shoot, it's blue, is that okay?
Yep.
Every one of these?
Making pretty good time, we don't have too much left.
That's what you think.
This is a record.
See, I arranged that card.
All right, so while that's going on, I guess let's jump a little out of order here. and,
You need
talk
his
about.
signature, he wasn't here to vote, but.
No problem.
Three's enough.
Talk about update on ongoing projects with MRPC. There's a few things to note. The first one being is Jennifer's contract with MRPC did not get renewed,
Oh.
so she's no longer working with MRPC.
Oh.
Nate has stepped in and is working with us to help sort out how we're gonna be moving forward with MRPC. We're gonna be scheduling a meeting for at least myself, Mark, Nate, and Whitney to meet with MRPC to talk about these projects at some time in the next week. But we're kind of left out there a little bit on it. We didn't get a draft of the solar bylaw, which is really what we need to go forward. We did get a draft of the town center project, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there about design standards and some other stuff, but there's some key components that are arguably missing from that. So we're gonna try to meet with Karen Chapman from MRPC and try to sort this out a little bit better. So I can hopefully come back to you guys with something more substantive about how we're gonna move forward with this at the next meeting.
Great.
We're obviously running out of time for the warrant, so that's gonna be a problem, especially with the town center, cause that's a big deal, and I think if we do it wrong, it's gonna turn into something controversial, whereas it really shouldn't be. It's overall a very good thing for the town, but we need to take the time to do it right, so we'll come back to that. Any questions on those two projects specifically, town center and the solar bylaw?
I have, a draft of that, a working draft of it,
Of the
that I
solar
sent to
bylaw?
her, yeah. And then she said, well, there are some contemporary models, more contemporary models and things that can be worked from. I
Yeah.
just,
We're gonna follow up. I'm surprised that we didn't get a copy of it on her last day because she did get the town center stuff over, and that was a much more substantial project, so I don't know if it just got misplaced in the shuffle. She did give us her contact information to follow up with some questions if there's anything that's missing that we think she might have.
okay,
But we're gonna try to catch up with Karen first because for the other item we're gonna come back to, which is talking about the master plan, the conversation that came up at the last meeting with her when Nate was here, they've had an initial conversation to work on getting that process restarted, but we haven't really paved the rest of the way yet, cause there's still the question about the $5,500 in the account, and our new grant needs to get approved, so there's a bunch of stuff that I believe is also gonna get sorted out at that next meeting with Karen Chapman, but that has our three biggest projects on hold, essentially pending the resolution of those things.
What was the third?
Master plan, town
Oh,
center, and
master
solar, yeah.
the master plan, we reread I reread some of the chapters, I didn't get to all of them, but I do have some corrections, I could just,
Yeah,
I know they're
please,
gonna discuss them or not, I just,
please
point
save
them.
those, because I also read some of the chapters but wasn't able to get through all of them because that's a huge amount. And I know it was a tall ask to ask everybody to get started on that, and I certainly didn't get the time to go through all of them, and so let's table that and come back to it,
Okay.
unless anybody just really wants to dive into that tonight. It's like, I read all of them.
And if John's here, I think we should.
Tones, no.
That's it. Let's go through all 400 pages.
Sorry, there's another call. Go.
I heard it.
I think there's a cat stuck in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll come back to. I think our next meeting is going to be pretty meaty because of that. I think we're going to know where everything's going by then. So I think that's going to be a pretty important meeting that we all get our opinions out there for it. So that essentially takes care of those 4 items. Under matters not reasonably anticipated by chair, I wanted to.
So we need to talk about the annual report.
Oh, sorry, annual report.
annual report.
We have a draft of the annual report. So Mark was gracious enough to put together a draft for us,
Oh, wow.
giving a specific accounting of the things that we worked on over the last year.
Oh, I remember seeing that. You sent it out in email, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have a couple just suggestions. One which is there is no 2000 FY, there's no reference to what year it's to that I could see. So you
Well,
put it in the
yeah,
title or?
Fine.
Yeah.
It's published in the 2022 annual report.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you'd still, right, you'd still put it in the title, because
Yep.
it exists as an independent. Anyway, I would, but who knows. Anyway, then, the other thing I thought is, you know, I had actually, I don't know whether you worked from the old report, it seems like you might have, where we listed all the things that they do. So I think maybe you eliminated, the language that we were the Affordable Housing Committee because it's now been offloaded to another committee. But I just wonder if we shouldn't, because we talk about Habitat for Humanity, if it shouldn't be noted somewhere that the responsibility, a sentence that says, planning board's responsibility, the planning board's appointment as the Affordable Housing Committee. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it probably is worth footnoting that.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I would, just a note, and you could either do it under here where our responsibilities are here. But just a note that says, I don't know, you can reword it better, but, the planning board previously served as the Affordable Housing Committee, and that now, those duties have now been reassigned to an independent committee.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, I definitely think that makes sense to
Yeah.
add as a footnote.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe you did a lot of work on that.
This is great, and you know, it's hard to put all these little threads together,
Right.
actually.
Must have spent a lot of time in the archives.
And also, there was an elimination of the growth, the rate of development bylaw. I don't know whether we wanna,
Yeah, so that's an interesting, thing,
note
because that was-
elimination of something or not, but,
well, and it was ultimately eliminated by the Attorney General's office, so it wasn't
yeah, so,
by our action.
Should we mention that? Probably, huh?
Yeah, I guess we probably should mention that under amendments to Town of Hubbardston zoning bylaws completely. Because we did do the work,
Right.
it just was subsequently disallowed by the Attorney General's office. Cause I know that was an important issue to a lot of people that we went forward and at least gave that a try.
Okay, so under the completed section?
Yeah,
amendments to the town zoning bylaws up at the top.
Yep, got it.
We could say that board was unsuccessful at amending this due to ruling by
Yeah.
the Attorney General. Unsuccessful at amending the rate of development
Right.
bylaw,
As they
cause the
won't allow
Attorney
it.
General disapproved the entire bylaw.
yeah, cause that was pretty popular with our constituents, so.
Well, keep you for record of what happened to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those, everybody watches the articles, but people don't necessarily read the retractions after the fact.
Right, right.
So that secondary note where we posted that it was struck down, that's something people are likely to miss. Alright, any other comments on this?
No? Nice work, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
So I've got, so we're gonna need to finalize this. Well, actually, I guess we can wait until your next meeting.
yeah, I
I'll,
believe so.
I'll make these corrections and you can discuss it again next meeting.
Sounds good. Anything else you
Assuming
need?
it's gonna be in January.
Yeah. Anything else you need on that?
Nope.
All right, matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, and I wanted to throw one out that I've been thinking of for a while. It didn't sit great with me when we had that daycare discussion a couple meetings ago about whether or not that was gonna be an allowable purpose, for a few reasons. The first one being is there's a state law saying that we can't require special permits for a daycare to operate in town. The next one is, well, in that particular situation, because it's non-conforming, we actually would have had to issue a permit, and we can't. So we got, our bylaws got in the way of something that is a very needed business and a very needed service in town. And I don't think we should just let that pass by. I think we should fix the problem that we have with our allowable uses for daycares. Because as it stands now, we only have a couple licensed operating daycares in town, and we're kind of incentivizing people not to go that way because of what we're doing with our zoning, which is arguably illegal under the state rules. And the ones that are operating in town, they have a pretty long wait list, so I don't think we're gonna be taking any food out of anybody's mouths if we make it easier for other people to open daycares. If anything, we're gonna make it a lot easier on the working families that we have in town. So I would like to put an item on the agenda for the next meeting where we talk about this in a little bit more detail. And I'm actually gonna present a couple possible amendments that we can do, where I think we really have an opportunity to help some people with something that really shouldn't draw a lot of objections, because there aren't a lot of calls on those rowdy daycares.
Now, is this something we'd have to go to town meeting to get voted on too? Yeah,
It is, and we're gonna have to look into this a little bit, and maybe even town council's gonna need to look at it ahead of time, because we're fixing something in our bylaws that's arguably illegal as it is. Section 40, not section 40, chapter 40 lists things that you can require special permits for, and things that are exempt. And there's really two things that jump out. We require special permits for greenhouses, you can't do that. That's illegal under state law, and you can't require them for a regular daycare. So,
Yeah, so you just amend it, make a motion, an article to amend that section of bylaw.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing that comes up with it is there's kind of a fine line between daycare and childcare center. And I've been looking at some of the other
Oh,
towns that are
okay.
around us.
Yes, there is.
So they look at small daycare, and then they look at childcare center, and then they allow essentially daycares to operate by right, but then childcare centers to be something different.
Could be a special permit.
Yeah, and I don't know that chapter 40 draws that distinction, and I think we're gonna have to look carefully at that. And I've only looked at Barry and Rutland so far. It also might not be possible to require a special permit for a child care center either, but either way, I think we still need to look at it.
oh, it's illegal, we should fix that.
Yeah,
Maybe, I mean, the parking provisions would still apply and so on, even if it was an allowed use, right? So, and
Yeah.
all of the, they're heavily regulated.
Very.
So
well,
you could just
that's the other big part of
make
it
it an
too,
allowed use.
because the state handles an awful lot of that.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't think there's a lot that we need to go in to do and try to regulate
Add to it.
licensed
We should look at
daycares.
parking lot, make sure there's no way you slip around that, but I think it applies to all businesses and that would be a business.
Yeah, well, and most of them are just operating with a drop-off. You don't go and park at the daycare.
Only employees park.
Yeah, you idle briefly, and by definition, a small daycare has 1 to 2 employees. So there's a little bit more research that I think we need to do and that I need to look at before, but I'd like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And although this might seem like it came out of nowhere, that's where it came from. It came from that discussion that we had a few meetings ago, and it was like,
Okay.
that doesn't make sense, we really should fix that, so.
I agree.
We should fix it. There is a long waiting list and there are people that
Oh, maybe somebody will
take up
open
that
one.
challenge and
I have
create a
several
business.
people myself looking for daycares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went through it myself about a year ago and got just super, super lucky getting into one of the 2 licensed daycares that we have in town. So, yeah, I think we can do a lot of good there.
Okay.
So I'll do a little bit more research and coordinate with Mark on this, and if anybody has any templates or anything that you think we should look at, please send it over to Mark. And we'll discuss it at the next meeting, and hopefully we'll try to have something proposed before then.
Maybe you could post the Rutland and if they're not too long,
Put them on the drive.
the provisions from those other 2 bylaws for us to compare.
Yeah,
So
that'd be nice.
what they do is they establish definitions, and then they just list them in allowable uses. So they do like daycare small, daycare large, and then just drop them into the allowable uses. So it's not like they wrote a whole separate bylaw for it, it's just.
And I agree, the state regulate those so much. We don't need to get into that.
You still get, but just in the drafting, you get into that, where do you put them in the definition section, do you? Yeah, so you gotta look at that.
Yeah, that's the part that we need to think about, because we don't wanna accidentally run afoul of chapter 40 again.
Mm-hmm.
While we attempt to deregulate them.
The AG loves us, yeah. Okay.
But I think it'll be a relatively straightforward, easy set of edits to draft compared to some of these other
Yeah,
projects.
it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay, so anybody else have anything to bring up?
Do you wanna talk about the, just fill people in on the brownfields and what's going on with the gravel pit? Or-
Oh yeah, I guess there's a couple things that we should talk essentially under this heading, or under matters not reasonably anticipated. So there's been some discussions going on with the town administrator about what is it, lot 57 Pitcherville Road?
57 Pitcherville, yeah,
Yep, the town property.
the old gravel
Um,
pit.
The select board gave to the new town administrator the action item to bring that to a resolution during his first 6 months. So he's taken that over because it's one of his goals to satisfy his performance review and his contract, so he's been helping us out a ton on it. VHB is actually gonna be going into the next select board meeting to give a presentation about some of the options with the property. There are 2 options. One of the options is to collect this lead contaminated soil and encapsulate it under a parking lot. The issues that come up with that is you have to disclose that. You can't ever disturb it, so it limits a bunch of uses down the road. And there's some other issues that potentially come up related to that too. And then the other way is to just remove the soil from the property. They're not hugely different in expense, but obviously in a small town, select board's gonna worry about every single dollar that we spend. But it was, there's a reserve on them, but one of them was 90,000, I wanna say, for the on-site, and then the truck off was 147, and they both have a 20% overage built into it for the plan. So they're not hugely expensive, but yeah, the select board's gonna pick that up and be working on it next week. So we'll find out some more about that. If anybody would like to go to that, and if it looks like there's gonna be any more than 2 of us at that, I am planning on going to that meeting, let me know and I'll post it. I imagine there's a good chance you'll probably swing by, Alice.
I was gonna come. My concern with this is, if you look at, I read his brownfield funding sources, some of them are loans, low interest loans, cleanup loans, and some of them are grants, and
Yeah.
anyway, there's a
I
lot of
actually
choices, but I think there needs to be a decision made of whether they're gonna clean it up, or whether they're gonna try to couple it with, we're cleaning this up to build affordable housing. It gives you more points if you maybe can fit in that camp, but if we're gonna do that, since we've offloaded affordable housing, that committee has to meet and embrace this plan, because not everybody would say, You know, that would
Mm-hmm.
be a good location. I know there's people that want it downtown where they gave access to the library and the senior center and,
Yep.
you know, that's a new committee and before we write a grant saying this is what
Yep.
we're gonna do with it, we need the authority of that new committee
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
write that
Forward
grant.
with it.
The select board certainly has a lot of work to do with it. I think one of the reasons this is a little unique from a regular brownfield situation is ultimately it's a problem the town created.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, because I started looking into those state grants. The town is not eligible for any of the state brownfield grants because we created the problem.
Yeah, we didn't inherit the problem, it didn't come from a foreclosed property, it's not some business that abandoned the property.
We did it.
It's something that the town did.
There's also the border issue.
Yep, and
And so somebody's gotta pay some substantial surveying fees to figure out.
Yep.
And you
Yeah.
can't surveying fees wouldn't be covered either, so
Yep, and the select board's gonna look at those issues.
they're aware of them, alright.
Yes, they are very much aware of them.
So this is gonna go
Okay.
away real quick,
Well, we'll see how it goes.
right?
There's a pretty, something will likely happen on this pretty soon. I know Nate's very motivated to work on it, so.
I just think it can't be coupled with affordable housing without more than, without
There-
having that committee convene and say, and evaluate it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that point. There definitely needs to be more to it than just a handshake from between you and Ryan from 3 years ago. Like, there needs to be a more formal charging of it than that. So, no, I hear you, and I appreciate you going to that meeting and also voicing that opinion.
It's this Monday coming.
Yeah, it's either this Monday or this Tuesday. They haven't published the agenda yet, so.
Will you let me know? You shoot me
Yep.
an email when you know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I will. What was the other one? Oh, the other one, trails. So, we've received a email message about a group that is trying to get an initiative going with MRPC to map out trails and explore connectivity issues between all of the MRPC towns. Which is something that I think would be pretty helpful to us for an economic development perspective. I'm gonna go to a meeting on Friday at 1:00 in the afternoon to go hear what they're talking about and see if it aligns with our economic development goals and some of the stuff we're trying to do here in town. We've also been talking around, and I mean, in discussions with Nate, and I also brought it up with open space. I can't remember if it happened since the last meeting, but I went to a legislative brunch that Ann Goby and CMRPC was putting on about trails. I can't remember if I reported on that to the board yet. But one of the things that came from that is that there's a possibility of doing a similar trail study with the Quabbin towns, where we look at the trails in the watershed, we look at the trails that we have here, and we do what we can to connect them together and map them to see what we can do for economic development for the town with that. See if we can make the trails themselves more of a destination to get people to come here, spend money. So we're looking at those things. They're both very early on, and I'll update it and we'll get it on the agenda as it becomes something more concrete. All right, so that I think for real is what we had there. Public comments or anything from anybody on the board?
I know, everybody wants to go home, but one question, are we gonna try to put an article together on the warrant that is, that fixes some of the errors that were deemed non-clerical?
We have not gotten that back from council yet, but I very much would like to if we can make it happen.
It'd be nice before the meeting.
For next meeting, can you put it on can you try to follow up on it?
Yeah,
I don't mind to follow up on it either, but
I'm
I don't feel like I can call town council now, you know?
well. I'm trying to only go to Nate with 2 or 3 problems at a time, and right now getting everything because
Well,
everybody's
there-
pulling them in so many directions.
Town council, in that last analysis,
Yep.
they had 2 documents. One was you can fix these things, they're clerical errors, and one of which is we need to vote to fix these things, right? You saw that
Yeah.
memo from,
I
so
remember
I mean, even if we just found that one, the things you need to fix, and brought it forward next meeting, put it on the agenda.
Okay.
If you can't find it, I can help you. Cause one of them is the
Oh,
map,
well.
if we could just fix the
Yeah.
stupid map reference and just a few other things there.
Well, that one is not, that's not gonna be clerical.
No, it's not, that's what I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Oh,
can
you're
we
talking-
have an
you're talking
amendment
about
that says
warrant-
to make the
warrant-
following
warrant article
corrections
stuff.
to the, there's about maybe 5 of them that I wanted to do that are beyond the
Clerical errors.
clerical errors, and I'd like to put an amendment together to do that. And that deadline's coming up, right?
Yeah, it is March, so March 3rd is when the warrant closes.
Okay, well,
So pragmatically, we wanna be having any public hearings we need early in February.
I'll try to,
So we do need to talk about that next
Yeah,
meeting.
Yeah,
if
so
we're gonna
I'll
do it.
try to-
next meeting is, yeah,
I'll try to also pull something together and copy you two on it with
Okay.
it. Find that memo and maybe I could do some drafting and suggesting.
okay. Yeah, and I would feel pretty good about that too, because we have a lot of stuff that we would like to be able to get on, but so much of that is caught up with these MRPC projects that are currently held. But I would feel good if we got that stuff on and we got the daycare, something about the daycare is on.
2 things, yeah, that'd be good. And then one other question is, with the amended, now that we do have an amended version of this, I mean, maybe the town doesn't wanna waste the paper, but I would love a copy of the new fixed up bylaws, with the corrections and deletions and a paper copy.
We have a document of a revised bylaw?
It hasn't been finalized yet.
Ow. Oh, none of it's been finalized. Okay, I thought the ones we
Yeah.
could fix clerical had been, they haven't been.
Yeah, they've not been finalized yet.
Okay. Well, maybe then we need to work with both lists, the ones with allowable corrections and
They'll,
see if we can't,
they'll hopefully be next week's meeting with me.
okay.
I've had to focus on the MPRC stuff at the moment. Right, anything else from the board or members of the public?
Nope.
Alright, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I will second the motion.
You're in a first and second, non-debatable, let's have a vote.
The die.
Woman's eye.
Demelia, aye.
Monroe, aye. Well, thank you all for coming, I'm happy we got through that in about record time.
Record time.